Awesome. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Wendy Castle. I'm a dietitian and diabetes care and education specialist with One Bite Nutrition. I've got Nikki Bomar, one of our awesome dietitians here with us, and we're continuing on our hormone series. So today we're going to talk about estrogen and progesterone and kind of dig deep into the details of that. So Nikki, what is estrogen and progesterone? Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about these today. We don't usually get to talk about these two. But they're those primary female sex hormones. They regulate our menstrual cycle, our reproduction, metabolism, mood, and so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of break it apart. So what exactly does estrogen do in the body?
Yeah, so this one has such wide-reaching effects. On our side of things as dietitians, it influences cholesterol levels, it impacts mood and cognition a lot of times, helps regulate insulin sensitivity, and of course influences appetite and then body fat distribution as well.
Yeah, one thing I didn't know that I thought was really interesting in my journeyhood of one being a woman and a mother, but when I was nursing, my cholesterol levels went up. And so
Mhm.
when I went for my well check, whatever you call that in the adult world, postpartum, my levels were slightly elevated, never have been before. And she just kind of educated me that that was one thing that influenced it. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. So yeah, thank you for going over that. So what about the other one? What about progesterone? What does progesterone do?
Yeah, so this is a big one that is very cycle dependent. So after ovulation, this is when progesterone's rising. It has a calming effect on our brain, so we might feel a little calmer during this time. It raises our body temperature a little bit. That can affect our metabolism and our caloric needs. And then, of course, it influences our appetite as well.
Yeah. And so I know many women experience this. I'm guilty. I don't know if you are, but I'm totally guilty of this. But why do some women experience cravings right before their period?
Yeah, I feel like this is such a frustrating one for all of us too. Right? So during that luteal phase, progesterone increases, right? And so it can increase our metabolic rate by anywhere between 100 and 300 calories a day. So we're gonna need that extra snack. And a lot of times when our body perceives this increase, again, it wants something really quick.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, well, if I can make her want XYZ food, she's gonna eat it. So let me do that. Insulin sensitivity may decrease slightly, so we might have more blood sugar fluctuations there. And then serotonin levels can fluctuate here too. So the combination of these can increase hunger and cravings, especially for those carbohydrate foods.
Yeah, I see a lot of teens with type 1 diabetes that really struggle with that regulation right before and just trying to make heads or tails of a pattern of that. And I'm like, when you're in the teenage years, it's hard for anybody to
Anyways,
regulate what they're eating and their blood sugar levels during that time, let alone, a female teenager with type 1 diabetes. So give yourself a little grace. You're gonna get this. We've got a lot of tools to help with that. So how do those hormones, how do estrogen and progesterone affect a person's weight?
yeah, so these two really influence our body composition rather than like just causing weight gain. So estrogen supports our insulin sensitivity, but it also can make us store more subcutaneous fat on like our hips and our thighs. When it declines, so once we reach, perimenopause, menopause, our abdominal fat storage starts to increase, and then our insulin sensitivity decreases as well. And so this a lot of times we see, okay, once I hit that level, our body composition starts changing. Once we get, even older, it starts changing even more. So progesterone can increase appetite temporarily, but this is usually, again, due to our cycle, like cyclic, I guess, versus that permanent increase in our appetite.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then what about mood? That's one other thing that kind of comes up around hormones and menses cycles and things like that. So how do these two hormones specifically affect mood?
Yeah, so estrogen usually helps us with extra serotonin and dopamine activity, which can positively impact our mood, of course. And then progesterone, it interacts with the receptors in the brain. So it can cause that calming effect, but it's these rapid hormone shifts that usually make us moody per se. So the irritability, just low mood, like just down in the dumps, more anxiety, more tired. And some people are more sensitive to these than others, of course. But it's those rapid hormone shifts that are causing that mood fluctuations.
Yeah, and I feel like it can kind of change in periods of life too, because you were talking about like the first hormone surge when, they're going through, they're going through puberty, and then you get things leveled out when you're middle aged, and then you get perimenopause and things kind of go ruckusy again. And yeah, so I think, it does differ for different individuals. Some people are way more sensitive, more in tune to their body and their cycles and how that's influencing how they feel and their mood and all of that. So how do we play a role in this? Dietitians, how does nutrition support estrogen and progesterone balance?
Yeah, so as dietitians, right, we're going to be focusing on that overall metabolic stability rather than these like hormone hacks that we see all over the internet nowadays. So, focusing on those supportive strategies, right? Eating regular meals to stabilize our blood sugar, adequate protein intake, those healthy fats, fiber that's going to help us support our estrogen metabolism, iron-rich foods if we are menstruating, omega-3 fats that's going to help with inflammation, and then, of course, severely restrictive dieting can disrupt all these hormones going on. So sometimes we don't ovulate and we don't have that hormone production. So, how can I, again, stabilize these hormones instead of having extra rapid increases and decreases?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're of, the age where you should be having your menstrual cycle, and you're not menstruating any longer because of dieting or substantial weight loss, that is a number one trigger to go see your OBGYN or one of our dietitians. We will definitely refer you to the doctor too, but definitely needs to be addressed. Usually it's, a calorie deficit, definitely not enough nutrients and malnutrition going on in there that could be playing a role. Or some other underlying conditions that we just haven't seen if you're getting enough intake. So good point. So how does stress affect estrogen and progesterone?
Yeah, so if you've seen our cortisol one,
Mhm.
they've talked a little bit about this, but that chronic stress increases cortisol.
Mhm.
Cortisol and progesterone, they actually share pathways in the beginning, right? So prolonged stress can make those progesterone levels lower as well, especially in some cases. Again, some people have a little bit easier metabolic pathways than others, but that distress can disrupt ovulation and, of course, altering that whole hormone balance when we don't have ovulation there.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say is the biggest myth about these hormones that you could share?
So I think these ones really get a bad rap on. Oh, they make me gain weight. They make me moody. So again, hormones influence the body, that they interact with everything else going on: sleep, stress, nutrition, genetics, lifestyles. So simplifying everything into hormone imbalance, we usually miss the big picture. Again, we have to see, okay, why are these hormones imbalanced?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not robots. It's not just one thing that affects how we live. I mean, our bodies are really amazing things that work together. And the main thing is homeostasis. Your body wants homeostasis. So it's going to do a lot to try to achieve that.
Mhm.
And same thing holds true with your hormones. It changes to allow for different things to happen in your life. So, if you have any questions about hormones or maybe how hormones might be affecting you in your life currently, feel free to reach out. You could reach out to myself. You can reach out to Nikki. You could reach out directly on our website. It's onebitenutrition.com. And we've got a whole other slew of talks on our YouTube channel on hormones. So don't miss out on the other topics there too.